Good morning, friends. It's Martin here. Now, I'm going for my morning walk and I thought I'll share with you some insights that I've learnt recently. And it's about life. And as you know, if you've been following me, you know that I'm a person that wants to understand how things work. And that's why I became an engineer, because I want to know how things work. But lately, in the last, say, 10 years, I've been more curious about how life works and why we're here and all those kind of very important questions. And I just want to share with you some insights I got recently, and it's based on two things. One was a movie called The Apostle Paul, and the other one was a book called The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. So basically what I learned from them was that our life is really where it comes from. It's like an ocean, and our life is like someone, you could say God, just grabbed a handful of water, and that water is our life. And as you know, the water will start slowly seeping out of your hand until eventually you die. So that's basically how it works. So you could think of the whole ocean as God, or one large soul, and by God grabbing that small piece of water, it's basically grabbing a part of the soul, or our individual soul, and brings life to it. And we basically are part of the whole, but we're also the individual, because we have an individual soul and we do have free will, and our life is immortal. So there's a time limit between when we were created and when the water runs out and when we die. So that's basically the concept, to help explain like where we came from and how our life is limited, and why we do have a soul, and why we've made in God's image. We're made in God's image because we came from the same source. We came from that ocean. We're just part of the ocean. And it's interesting because we've also been given godlike powers, but diminished power, very small portion of God's power. And an example of this is that we can actually reproduce. We can create other human beings. As you know, you can have children. And children's, if you look at them closely, they do resemble the parents. So the children are made in our image, and we're made in God's image. So it's very interesting how this works. And it's very interesting how you can be both something that's eternal, like the soul, and something that's not eternal, which is your personality or your body, which basically dies. So I find that fascinating. Also, another way to look at this is like in the music industry, music, for example, like the soul is basically, the body is an instrument of the soul. So you could think of the body as the piano and the soul as the musician. So you need both of them. You need the piano and the musician to produce music, right? Now, what happens in life is sometimes our body or our instrument gets damaged, and we can fix that. But sometimes it's actually not the instrument of the body that gets damaged. It's actually the soul, which is the person, which is the musician. So for example, if a musician was unwell and couldn't perform, then they're not going to produce music, or they're going to produce poor music. So there's no point trying to fix the piano, because the music won't come out any good. And that's what I think what happens in life. Sometimes we get mixed up between the body and the soul, and we try and fix the body, which can be fixed through external means. Like someone's injured, they can have an operation or take some medication. But that's not the whole story, because there's also the soul, or the real person, and that needs to be also addressed. So I find this actually quite fascinating, and it helps explain why sometimes things don't go the way we expect in life. And an example that comes to mind is if you're not enjoying your work, then really it's not the work that's the problem. It's probably you're the problem. You're probably out of alignment. You're not doing your soul's work. So it's like separating the work from the person or the soul. So, and that's one of my missions, is to help people do their soul's work, because I think that's how you produce beautiful music. Back to that example, the piano and the musician. they are made for each other. So my question is, are you made for the work you're doing, or are you doing the wrong type of work? Which is definitely possible, because there's a lot of people out there I know that they're doing the wrong work, and I can understand they're doing it because they need to pay their bills. But I think it's important to know what your ideal work is and to strive every day towards doing that. I mean, if you can't do it during the day between your 9 to 5, then I'm sure you can find some time to do that type of work between 5 and 9, which is 16 whole hours. So that's a lot of time. So really, there is no excuses. So basically, I just wanted to share with you that you are eternal. Your soul is eternal. It's got no time constraint, but your body obviously does have a time constraint, and it will wear out, and eventually you will leave your body and your soul will go back to this ocean, which is God, which is the whole of all the souls put together. And also, I want you to also take some time to think about how you're feeling. If you're not feeling right, it means that you're probably out of alignment. It's important to get into alignment with what you're meant to be doing, because if you don't, all that's going to happen is you're going to deteriorate faster, your body's going to expire faster through, illness, disease, that kind of thing. So it is important. My message today is stop and pause during this festive season break to just look at yourself, look at your life, ask yourself honestly how you're feeling, and just check in, make sure you're doing the right thing that's aligned with your soul. Another example that comes to mind is animals and plants and trees. You see, they are meant for a certain purpose, but the thing is they don't have free will. Like an apple tree will not produce bananas, whereas you, as a human being, you've been given free will, so you get to choose, which is great. But then also there's a negative side to that, is that you could end up making the wrong choices. So it's important to choose wisely, do your homework, make sure you understand how you feel, because that is the key. Feeling is the key. Anyway, I've ranted on a bit today. I just wanted to share that message with you, and hopefully it brings you some value. If you like this message, please give it a thumbs up. Please add a comment, share with me what you think, and by all means share it if you think someone else is feeling a bit stuck and unhappy, and maybe this may help them and give them some direction. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.